program. I've heard so many good things about EOS. So Sandy Mitchell is our speaker today. She is the CEO of Apex Catalyst Group, which is a firm focused on building leaders and their companies. She's helped companies, over 600 business owners of small and mid-sized companies, really to determine their vision, get traction, and be healthy leadership team. Sandy is a professional EOS implementer. She's certified executive coach, an ICF Global Prism Award finalist, an award-winning trainer, international speaker. So we're so excited to have her back again. And while Sandy is the CEO of her business, we all know the pups in the home kind of run the thing. So Coco and Chanel, which are fantastic names for a dog or for dogs, definitely rule her house. So let's welcome Miss Sandy Mitchell to the stage.
Whoop, whoop.
Her presentation up. We are going to entertain questions in the chat box, which is kind of located at the bottom. So feel free to kind of chat away if you have anything you want to bring to Sandy's attention. We'll kind of scatter those throughout. And also, I think Elizabeth posted, if you didn't get the link earlier with the workbook that we'll be kind of following along with her, we've included a link below for you as well. Take it off, Sandy.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Lindsay, I really appreciate you reading that great introduction exactly the way I wrote it. So thanks for doing that for me. I wanted to just give a quick shout out to the Goldman Sachs. I'm going to be the lead faculty for the fall program. So if you come, you'll get to play with me all fall. It's going to be fun. You'll love it. All right. So I wanted to obviously thank Lindsay for the introduction and Elizabeth for the opportunity to do this. Debbie has played with me several times with my Goldman Sachs folks, and I really love this group and what they've been able to do for me in my business, and so I wanted to also thank you, because I think that the fact that you are taking time out of your business as entrepreneurs to learn, to grow, to share with others, that is absolutely vital to being a successful entrepreneur and CEO of your business. So thank you for taking the time to do this. But that also means that I've got about 30 seconds to prove to you that the next hour is worth it, because you've seen a lot of people like me. So I wanted to tell you, when you walk out of this, you're going to have at least, here's my promise, you're going to have at least one idea, one tool, one concept, something that you'll be able to implement tomorrow to help move your business even further into the realm of success. And but there's three things that I need you to do in playing with me. The first thing is that I need you to get real about yourself and your business. So as we go throughout this, I'll be asking different questions, and I want you to play with me. So that's why I gave you the workbook that I put together. The second thing is that I'm going to keep things really simple. That's one of the tenets of EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It also happens to be my word of the year. How many of y'all have words of the year or phrases of the year? Yeah, mine is simplify. I've been in business 8 years now, so I've got a lot of things that have just been added on because. So we're going through and how do I take the complexity back out of the business? And then the third thing that we're going to do is we're really going to focus on things that are giving you results. So I'm going to give you tools. I'm going to give you disciplines. I'm going to really focus in on 2 of the 6 key components that we're going to focus on that I think will really give you some great excitement about what you can do with your business. So before I kind of get into this, before I start sharing, thank you, Jen. Jen, you're my favorite. So one of the things before I get into the program where I share my screen, I've got everybody in gallery view so I can see you, and only half of you have your cameras on. So switch your cameras on if you can, because I've got a couple of quick questions. I want you to just raise your hands for me. So the first question is, I want to know who of you are actually the business owners. Okay, good. Who of you are the people who run the business if you're not the owner? Okay, great. And then who of you do the work for the owner and the people who run it? Okay, good. That just wanted to get a kind of a sense of that. Then let me get a sense of like size. So how many of you have like 1 to 20 employees? Okay, great. Like 21 to 50? Okay, great. Like 51 to 100? One of you, a couple of you? Okay, great. Anybody over 100? Okay, super. And then the last one is anybody on here, are you already implementing EOS in your business? Kind of, sort of, okay. Who on here knows the word EOS and you want a little bit more information about what it is? Okay, good. Is anybody, when you hear the word EOS, you're like, oh, good God, I'm in the wrong room? And okay, no, good. All right, excellent. Okay, cool. So then, so let's go ahead and get a little bit of context. So I put together this workbook for you, the EOS overview. We're going to play with several pages of this. But before you really kind of open it up, I want to get a little context for you. If you don't have it, they've put it out into the chat. So get the link. Elizabeth will put it back out in the chat if you've joined since she wrote it. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. But I want you to take a moment. I've got I'm a neuroscience geek. So I'm going to have you, I want you to just plant your feet, sit. I want you to close your eyes, raise your right hand, promise you won't go to sleep. It's going to be only a couple of seconds. But I want you to really just kind of sit back in your chair, make yourself comfortable, close your eyes. And I want you to, I know this sounds a little silly, but there's a mathematician named Kurt Gödel, who was one of Einstein's contemporaries. And he said that you can't be in a system and understand the system at the same time. And basically what he's saying is that I got to get you out of the weeds. I got to get you out of the being in the business to being on the business. So here's what I want you to do. The phrase I use all the time is I want you to pause, look up, and look out. So I want you to levitate for me. Not, don't, unless you're a magician, you don't have to really levitate, but I want in your mind, I want you to go up above your business and be able to look down into the business, not in it through the business owner or the person who's running it or doing it, but look down at your business. And, keeping your eyes closed, breathing deeply so you really get all that great oxygen to your brain. I want you to just think about your business with an open mind, right? And the ability to look at it critically, to see where are some opportunities for improvement. When you feel like, okay, I'm ready, my mind is open, I'm ready to look down at my business, then you can go ahead and open your eyes. So is everybody willing to look at their business kind of a new way? All right, cool. So I'm going to start with a little bit of history about EOS and a little bit about me. So EOS was started with Gino Wickman. So if y'all aren't already there, you could probably go to speaker view. So Gino Wickman started the company about 15-ish years ago. And he was working with before he did that, he started working in his own business. He was an entrepreneur. Came from a family of entrepreneurs. He had been in his own business about 5 years, loved doing it. And then his dad called him back to the family business. And so he went back to run the family business, realized it was in a much bigger mess than he thought it would be. So he was able to turn it around, get it built up, sold the company. They asked him to stay on for a couple of years to make sure the transition worked really well. And then he retired like around 30. Can you imagine being wealthy enough? Can you imagine? So here's 30, that's too young to retire. So he really spent a year focusing in on what was it that he loved about working with the entrepreneurs, both in the company that he was in, the company that he helped rebuild. He was also part of EO. Have y'all heard of Entrepreneurs Organization, EO? He was part of the founding EO group in Detroit, and realized that he was passionate about helping entrepreneurs get the infrastructure around their business that they could grow sustainably. And he was looking around and he realized there are two kinds of entrepreneurs out there. The first kind are the ones that they're doing okay, right? They're getting by, they're getting maybe, some of what they need. They may be happy, they may not be happy, but they feel like there's more weight on their shoulders, more things. If they constantly have to make that one extra phone call, that one extra sales call, right? And so that's about 95% of the businesses. But what he's was really interested in who were the people that had 5% of their business. That's not true. Let me say it this way. 5% of the businesses seemed to have it all together. They had a balance in their work life. They felt like they were getting everything they wanted out of the business. They're living what he now calls the EOS life, where you get to enjoy the business, you get to enjoy outside of the business. And if you have, children or pets or trees, I don't know, whatever, that you get to enjoy what you put out there. And he said, how do I get some of the 95% up to the 5%, where you get everything that you want out of that business? And so that's what this is. There's no secret sauce. There's no magic bullet here. It's really simple tools that give you real results because it was written by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. These tools that you're going to hear, they've been around for 100 years. They'll be around for 1,000 more. It's really about the framework. But here's the thing that I think is the biggest piece of it. It is about the alignment. When you can get every single person on the leadership team aligned with where you're going, how you're going to get there, and you've got the right people in there, you cannot help but be successful. So if you flip over in your workbook, flip over to page 4, I'm going to talk about the frustrations, why people have frustrations in their businesses. The first one is that they feel like there's a lack of control. Right? You ever feel like this? I call this are you running your business or is your business running you? Right? There was an example that I heard that I thought was brilliant. He said that he feels like his business is this car that's going 60 miles an hour down the highway, and he's running behind it, trying to catch up to the car so he could jump in the back and at least feel like there's somebody in the car running it. Anybody feel like that? But so what we're trying to do is how do we help those people feel like they've got more control in their business? The second one is that it's usually about profit, typically not enough. I want more, right? I want some wherever you are in the profit realm. But it's being able so that the money is not a nonprofit for you, even though the IRS thinks it's a for-profit, right? Anybody been in a company like that? The third one is people. I love this. So what I find is that I was telling some of the groups that I was playing in that some of my specialties in the leadership development side of my business is around emotional intelligence and conversational intelligence, because I 100% believe that the vast majority of problems that we have in our businesses can be traced back to people and communication. Stanford did a study that said that 9 out of 10 conversations miss the mark. They just miss the mark. And so you think about that. If 90% of the conversations that you have, the communications that you have with the people who are trying to do the work that you need done to get your company where you want it to be, isn't fully understood, of course we're holding ourselves back on that. The fourth one is the hitting the ceiling. You think about things are going great. Like for most of the companies that I was working with, and even a lot that I know, in January, February of last year, they were on track to make the best year they had ever made. And then COVID, and then, the pandemic hit, and then the oil, and then, I mean, all of these things hit at once that you had absolutely no control over. You hit a ceiling. There are also times that you hit ceilings and you absolutely have control over them, right? Something's happened and gosh, our processes are just totally messed up. Or you hit a ceiling because, oh my God, if we just got rid of this one person, our business could be stronger, but it's Aunt Matilda. So I can't, I can't get rid of Aunt Matilda, but oh, if I could. And then the last one, the fifth one is nothing's working. Like, have you ever had that? Well, here's what your employees feel like if you do this, where you're reading every book, you're listening to every podcast, you're going to every webinar, you're going to every conference, and you're trying to do things better. And what we find is that your people think that you are a flavor of the month leader. So what you want is, how do we get something that is working that everybody can believe in? All right, so now I'm going to flip over to the workbook. So let me give you the slides here. I think this is the right one. Okay. So we're going to talk about, if you go to page 5, this is where we're going to spend most of the time. We'll be flipping back and forth between some pages and this page 5. But this is going to be the main one, because this is what we call the EOS model. And the EOS model, what we find is that at any one time, we entrepreneurs are dealing with 136 issues at any time, right? I call them fires. We have all these fires that coming at us all the time. And unless you pause, look up and look out, see what's coming, you can't make better decisions today to minimize the number of fires that are coming. That's what this process is really about. It's really about figuring out, if you focus on these 6 key components that we're about to talk about, then all of those problems magically fall into one of these 6. And when you falls into one of these 6, it's a lot easier to figure out, now, how are we going to deal with that? So we always start with your business. Then we focus on the number 1, we focus on the vision. I'm going to do 2 passes around this. The first pass, really high level, so you see all 6 components. Then I'm going to dive deeper into this one and the next one, which is people. Because I think these 2 are the biggest components of getting this started. Vision is 100%. What we talk about, having goodness in your business, we call it strong. So being 100% strong in vision is where all of your people know exactly where you're going and how you're going to get there. Can you imagine that? You're looking out at your business of 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, and every single one of them know exactly what the vision is, and they're all doing what they need to do to get there. Wouldn't that be cool? So in order to do that, you've got to have the right people. In order to have the right people, that means that you have to define what great people means to you. Because you could read every single book out there, but your business is different. So how do we identify who the great people is for your business in order to achieve your vision? So I'll spend a lot of time with these 2 on the second pass. The third key component is data. This is most of us entrepreneurs, we started our business, we brought all the people into our business. And so they're like a family. And so we've kind of crossed over the boss employee line and their family. And so we make some decisions that are more emotional than just fact and logic based. And so we do a mix of the 2 because we are humans. We have to have the emotion, but we also need the facts. When we end this, every single person in your organization will have a number that they are responsible for, which I think is powerful, because when you can get people to understand how their job fits in with the vision, with the purpose, with why you're doing what you're doing, all of a sudden, that deep human need to do something bigger than I can do myself, then this filling out this paperwork every single day is no longer drudgery. It's allowing somebody else to buy the car of their dreams. It's allowing the hospital to be built that will enable kids to be able to be strong and healthy. The job becomes more than just what's on the job description. When you get clarity in these three, the vision, the people, and the data, then all of a sudden you start getting more issues. I have a lot of my clients that'll say, Sandy, we did not have this many issues until you became our EOS implementer. I'm like, you did. You just didn't know because they weren't telling you about them, right? When you get a company that has trust as the basis of the company, then people are more willing to tell you what is going wrong so that you can fix something before it becomes the big fire, right? So we'll talk about issues when we'll see how that fits in. And then you're also looking at what are the processes. This is Jen Schomburg. If y'all don't know Jen, you should check into her. What she does and what EOS espouses is how do we get those core handful of processes that really make the difference. If you are doing them consistently every single time, you as the entrepreneur don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to micromanage and all because somebody's got it and you can trust the person that's got it. And it means that you, because that's out of your brain, you get the opportunity to really hone in on higher level work. There's a study done, and don't hold me to what it was, but I read a study one time that said most of us entrepreneurs and leaders, we do more than 50% of our time on processes and projects and tasks that are below our pay grade. If you could take even some of it back because somebody else is doing the process the right way, think how much more strategic work you could be doing, how much more cultural work, how much better your relationships can be because you're focusing on the bigger things. And then we focus on traction. So, and traction is on purpose underneath vision. Because if you, Gino says it, vision without traction is hallucination. Traction is the execution piece. How do I make the vision actually happen? So that's the way we focus in on this. One of the things that we try to do, so if you can imagine, right, you get 100% strong in the vision. So everybody in the company knows where you're going and how you're going to get there. You have 100% of the people in your organization that are the right people in the right seats. You have every single person in your organization that has a number. They know how they fit in and they're making a huge contribution to achieving the vision. Can you imagine that when you get the issues are knocked down once and for all, rather than over and over? Have you ever been in those meetings? You're like, did we not just have this discussion 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Oh my gosh, let's figure out, we have a way to help you get rid of those. 100% of process is that you've got those core handful done and they're followed by all. And then 100% in traction is that everybody knows what they're doing over the next 90 days, 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, and you have consistency in your communication in it. So here's the thing, 100% in all 6 key components, that's what we're striving for, right? And what we find is that most companies are really at 20%. That's why a whole lot of companies went out of business last year, right? Because they were making it day to day, really. They didn't have the protections in place. Here's our goal. Our goal is to get you to 80% and then better for each one of these. So do we have any questions before I move into the deep dive into vision and people?
I don't see any yet.
Okay. All right, cool. Then I'll go back.
Processing all the information. It's so good.
I have a question.
Yeah, Debbie.
Hi, this is Leslie.
Oh, Leslie.
So, yeah, so so part of the challenge is obviously in the scaling process, which has been kind of where we've been. Um, would you recommend that the people who are going to be accountable for their process help define their process, or do you do it collaboratively with the owners?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So here's what I like to do, Leslie. I think if we, the owners, create all the processes, we're doing several things. We are creating the bottleneck. We are imposing our belief of how it should be done. Mm-hmm. And we're becoming the performance police, which I tell my people all the time, you've got to step out of being the performance police.
Right.
I am a huge fan of having the people who, if they've been doing it a while, like you don't want a newbie to come in and create your process, right? But I love having the person who does it do the first draft, and then we come in and we whiteboard it, because they may not always realize how their process affects everybody else around their process. I worked in tech for a long time, and you remember Y2O when we had to clean up all this stuff? We were going in and people were cleaning up their processes, but not realizing when they cleaned this up and they took things out, it affected all of these other software processes that nobody knew was using this process. Mm-hmm. So having a big whiteboard session, first of all, it's fun to brainstorm, but then you actually get to see how it all plays, and then y'all get agreement. That's the big thing. If you can get agreement on the process, rather than it being a compliance driven, you've got to, then and they were part of it, it's gone beyond buy-in to ownership, which is where I think people want to go, right? And Absolutely. Then I think the important thing is that how do we help hold people accountable? Because so many people say, all right, here's the process, go. And then they hope they hold them, that they are doing it. Trust but verify is what Reagan said, right? So you got to trust your people, but how do you verify that the process is being done right, and it is the right process? Because there's still steps out there that may not be, right?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Because I'm full of answers. All right, cool. Well, then let's go back to the presentation. Let's see, it would be this one. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go to this. And now I didn't take this picture, but I saw this happen in India. This poor little donkey, right? When he is able to touch the ground and have traction, then he can go forward. But do you ever feel like you've got so much baggage in your company that you don't have the ability to get traction? That's part of what we try to do, is how do we get you back on the ground so that you can move forward and get that traction? So let's talk about vision. For vision and people, I'm going to give you 2 tools or 2 disciplines that will help you in this. So the first thing that we talk about is what we call 8 questions. And so this is on page 6 and 7 of your book. The questions are the areas that are in gray. All right, so let's play through these and see how they play out. Let me get this out of the way. So the 8 questions, what we focus on are the core values. I am such a huge fan of core values. I've been teaching this for years, because here's what I find. Most people, they're like, oh my God, that's that stupid MBA thing. Or in the corporation that I worked for, I won't say who I worked for, they brought in a consultant. They had these beautiful values, put them up on but they weren't true, right? But they were beautiful words. And here's one of my favorites. They put it up on the elevator. They put them all over the place, but they put them on the elevator doors. And you know how when the doors open and close, they start scraping away? We were like, that's the truth, it's the scraped. Here's the thing, when you get the right core values, and to me, the core values are who you can't help but be. So they're not words like integrity or honesty or loyalty. because many times that is aspirational. I have a client that he wanted loyalty as one of his one of his core values, and I pushed back. I was like, okay, so is everybody in your organization, is loyalty one of the things that they exhibit all the time? And he said, no, that's why I want loyalty. I was like, no, values are not aspirational. They are who you are at the core. You can't help but be. And when you hire people that have the same values you do, then you can hire, you can fire, you can reward, you can recognize. Everything you do in the business from a people perspective is based on, are they living the values or are they not living the values? It becomes simple. The next thing that we focus on is the core focus. So people call this different things, right? Some people call it a vision statement or a mission statement. Jim Collins calls it the hedgehog concept. There's all different words for it. We call it the core focus, because what we're looking for here is, what is that focus that you have that you could make all of your decisions on? Will this get us closer to our vision or further away from? Will it get us closer to achieving the focus, or will it get us further away from? And you'll see that there's two parts to it here. The first part is your why. So it becomes, my purpose is, my cause is, my passion is. It becomes one of those three things. What's your why? What's the thing that gets you up in the middle of the night and works through Snowmageddon and all of these things when it's hard, but you say, but if I don't do this, people will lose out. If I do this, this is how people can be better. Humanity can be better. And then the niche is, what do you do better than anybody in the world? Right? So Orville Redenbacher, his niche, it's very succinct. It's popcorn. Right? So what's that thing that when people say, oh, okay, I understand what you do. What's the why? So the core values are who you are. The core focus is what you are. So this is the purpose, cause, or passion is why. Your niche is what you do better than anybody else. Then we go into the 10-year target. I think this is so much fun. So right now, this is a good time. A lot of people are using 10 years. So by the end of 2030, what is your big, hairy, audacious goal? What's that thing that's scarier? I heard somebody say the other day that it makes you nauseous. It's like you're on a roller coaster, right? It makes you a little nauseous, but you're not throwing up because it's also fun, right? So what's that big, hairy, audacious goal? Where are you going to? What are you going to do to have fun with this? And you can measure everything against that. Then you have your marketing strategy, and you can see there's 4 parts to the marketing strategy here. The first one is the target market, or the list. Here's the thing. When I started my first business, leadership development, right? I thought, well, I could market to everybody because everybody's a leader. Well, you can, but as Rylan will tell you, it's too hard to market to everybody. Unless you have the dollars that Coca-Cola has or Toyota has, you probably don't have the ability to really market everybody. So who are the ones that are the most important for you? Who are the ones you have the most fun working with? Who are the ones you can really make the biggest impact on? And you start off, you hone your list down to this type of company, organization, nonprofit, person. If you can hone in on that, then you can become the thought leader in that industry. And then you can spread out. It's just so much easier to start with a group that you can figure out, where do they go to conferences? What do they read? What networking events do they go to? What blogs should I be focusing in on? And so that you know exactly where to go. So we talk through what the geographic, demographic, and psychographic, what's really important to them. Then we go into the 3 uniques. So the 3 uniques, like every good sales marketing plan, what makes you different, right? What are the 3 things that make you different, but not that's important to you, but what are the 3 things that make you different that are important to your clients? right? So you may have some things that are important to you, but they don't mean a thing to your clients. So don't write those down here, right? But what's important to your clients that will say, oh, I want to pick Lindsay over someone else, right? Then the last two, the first one is we call it a proven process. This is simply so you can see it behind me, and here it is again. It is a simple one-page color item that shows from the moment they are interested in you to the moment that they are a happy, satisfied customer. So this is a yes, no question. Does your business feel like this will be helpful to your clients to know that you have their hand through the whole program? Or is it not? About 50% of our clients say, yes, it's really helpful to them. 50% say, it's a one-time thing, so it's not really that big a deal for us. And then the fourth piece to this is the guarantee. Again, this is a yes, no question. The guarantee is, what is that thing that if they've got some hesitation that's happening, what's that guarantee that you have that will make them feel comfortable saying yes, right? So then we move on to the 3-year picture. So the 3-year picture this is where you start to get into some numbers, right? What's your revenue going to be at the end of 2023? What's your profit going to be? And then what does it look like? So this is not a 3-year strategy. It's really, what does it look like? Like, how many employees are you going to have? What kind of clients are you going to have? Where are you going to be? Have you moved out? Is there a CRM or a specific tool that you need to have embedded in your company by then, right? What is it going to look like? Because this is the point where when you get it together, everybody says, oh, okay, I can see it. Because when they can see it, then they can become a part of it, right? Then they can actually make it happen. Then if you flip over to page 7, that first page 6 is the vision side. This is the traction side. This is, all right, we've dreamed. Now let's figure out how we're actually going to make it happen. So the 1-year plan, it's still revenue, profit, and your measurable. And then we give you space for up to 7 goals, no more. We entrepreneurs like to have 26, 36 goals. The more you have, the harder it is to accomplish. You'll hear us say in the EOS all the time, less is more. We have space for 7. I really push my clients. Is there a way you can have 3 to 5? Because what we find is when you hone in on the top, really most important, magnitude of importance going to make a difference, then a lot of other things happen without you realizing it. But if you try to focus on everything, you don't get very much done at all. Then we go to traction. The traction is the rock, we call these quarterly rocks. So the quarterly rocks are what we find is that about every 90 days, our minds have frayed. You think about New Year's resolutions, right? Everybody who still makes New Year's resolutions, usually by February, definitely by March, 95% of people have totally forgotten what their resolution was, right? So what we try to create these 90-day worlds of what's our revenue going to be this quarter? What's our profit going to be? What's the big measurable we're going to focus on? And then what are the top 3 to 5? There's space for 7, but what are the top 3 to 5 biggest priorities that we need to work on in the next 90 days? And this is where accountability really comes in. You see here, we assign a person who is responsible for ensuring that it happens. It doesn't mean they are the doer, but they are absolutely the champion in ensuring that it happens. And then the last column that we have are the issues list. And the issues list on this, we call it the Vision Traction Organizer, or the VTO for short. These issues are really about the things that will take more than 90 days. So it's something that we want to remember, but it's not something we're going to work on this quarter. So this could be, we're looking at acquiring another company, or we need to let our CEO actually become just the owner rather than working in the day-to-day, right? There's all different kinds of pieces of that. So when you get that, we go through, so we spend the first 3 days of the 10 days of over 2 years, we spend the first 3 days going through these. so that you as a leadership team really get clarity on what your values are, what your focus is, what your 10-year target is, and what you're going to do over the next 90 days. And then the big thing is you got to share it. Because a lot of people, it's not that companies don't have visions. It's everybody has their own idea of what the vision is supposed to be. So if the owner can talk about, this is what our vision is, this is where we're going, over and over and over, people can see it. Now, as we head into the stretch, I wanted to talk through some of the people aspects. We're looking at two things: right people and right seat. So if you flip over to page 8, the people analyzer, what we do, I love this tool. This is such a great tool for you to really look at your people and see, are they good fits for my company? And what we do is across the top, we write in what our values are. These are the values for EOS. Then here's what I want you to do. I want you to put your name as in the first row. Then I want you to put your very best person that you have in your whole company, not yourself, in the second row. And in the third row, who's the worst person in your company? Even if the worst person is a good person, if they are just the worst person in your company. So you've got you, your best person, and your worst person. So we've got Sally, John, and George. Here's what we do with this. We go through and we say, all right, let's look and see, does Sally most of the time exhibit humbly confident? Or does she very little of the time exhibit it? So most of the time would get a plus, very little of the time would get a minus. And then if you're just not quite sure, so maybe they're about 50% of the time, it's a plus minus. So this will give you now hopefully you won't have somebody that's all minuses, right? But if you have any minuses here, then they are not a right person because they don't align with your values. So what we do is we have something called the bar. So we've got 5 values here. You could have 2 values, 3 values. Please don't do any more than 6 or 7 values. The fewer values you have, the easier it is for people to remember. But we look at this and we say, all right, so because this is good information, but what do I do with it, right? So we set a bar. What's the minimum that says that you fit in with our company? The fact that we have 5 values here, you can do one of 2 things. You can say, I want 3 pluses and 2 plus minuses will be meets the bar. Or I have some companies that say, nope, they've got to have 4 pluses and 1 plus minus to meet the bar. You totally get to decide what your bar is. You probably don't want to have all 5 pluses as your bar because not everybody is perfect. I know you are, but your people probably aren't. It'd be harder to hire if you had all 5 pluses. So this is a really great way to see if they are the right person because they live your values, right? So this is a really good way of doing it. So then we also look at the right seats. The way we look at this is through an accountability chart. My guess is you've seen an organization chart. You may even have one in your business, but the accountability chart takes the organization chart and puts it on steroids. What we find is that every single company, so this is again on page 8, the top of the page, every single company basically has 4 positions. The first one is sales and marketing. You've got to have somebody that says, hey, this is what we have, please buy it. Then you've got to have somebody, operations or services, that says, okay, now that it's sold, we're going to give it to you. And then you have somebody that says, oh, please, please give me the money. So in finance, you could also have IT, you can have HR. I've got a company that has research and development. So you totally get to split this out however you want. I have in operations, I've got some that have locations in multiple states. So they break operations out by states. I have others that break it out by product. I have others that say, we're just going to keep this position and put the products underneath. The fourth position that we find every company has to have is a leader. We call it the integrator because their job is to integrate the whole company into one. Because it's very easy for sales and marketing and operations to be two silos and not talk to each other. Why in the world did you sell that? We can't do that. Or why can't you do that? We sold them this. You got to be able to do it. So the integrator is the one that can make sure that communication goes across, that everybody has everything they need to do their job. It's kind of like the conductor who goes up. You ever been at a band, especially like a junior high band concert, that you go in and everybody is warming their instrument up and oh my gosh, it sounds like chaos. But as soon as the conductor comes up, taps their wand, it's probably not called a wand, whatever it's called. And then everybody goes on the same page and the music is beautiful. That's the integrator's job. About 50% of the companies have that. 50% of the companies have what we call the visionary. So the visionary is typically the person who they're a lot of times they are the owner, they're the CEO, they are the person who has lots and lots and lots of ideas. They love the culture, they love the big relationships, they love the hunt, they have fun with the big 30,000 foot level. They don't like the hard conversations. They don't like the details. That's what the integrator is there for, is the strategic, how do I make the idea of the visionary that's good? Because out of the 20 ideas, 19 are probably actually better for the competitor. But there's always that one idea that is going to knock your company into the next realm. So what we do is we take the function and we say, all right, so what are the 5 roles? What are the 5 responsibilities for that function of sales and marketing? What are the 5 things we think are the most important for them to do? So there's clarity around what everybody's doing. It is not creating silos, it is getting clarity. What we do then is we look at 3 things. The person that we want to put in here. So it's structure first, people second. Because we as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we build jobs around the strengths of a person. And when that person leaves, we try to shove somebody else into the strengths the person before had. What we're doing here is we're saying, you get to totally recreate your company. If you get to recreate it, what are the functions that are the most important for your business? And then what are the responsibilities you want them to be able to do? So when you're looking for someone, either somebody already in your company, maybe somebody already in that role, or you got to hire somebody from the outside, do they get these roles and responsibilities? Do they understand it? Does their brain think that way? Do they actually want the role? Have you ever been in a role you didn't want? You may have been good at, but you didn't like it. It's miserable to do that. So you want people who want to do this job. And do they have the capacity to do it? And my favorite is to add the word well at the end. Do they have the capacity to do the job well? Could be a sense of, do they have the training that they need? Do they have the time that they need to do this job? So then we go back to the people analyzer and we add get it, want it capacity at the end. And here the answer is either yes or no. What we want are 3 yeses. If you have any no's, then they're not in the right seat. So this is the right person because they fit into your organization. This is the right seat because they know how to do the job and do it well. So this gives you a simple way of looking at your people and saying, okay, who are right people misses and who are right seat misses? Who might be the wrong people or the wrong seat or both? They're the ones you would want to start working with. Now, for the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to do a speed walk through the other 4 because, like I said, I really think vision and people are where we need to start on all of this. If you flip over to the next page in your workbook, this is in data. We have 2 things, the scorecard and the measurables. The scorecard is simply a way of tracking on a weekly basis what progress or lack thereof is your company making. The measurables are the words, the goal are the numbers. So, and we try to do more leading indicator than lagging. So a lot of people will try to put things like revenue and all that kind of stuff, number of clients, all that. What you want is what's going to get you the clients. So in order to get a client, you have to have had proposal meetings. In order to have proposal meetings, you may have to have initial meetings. In order to have initial meetings, you may have to have had conversations. In order to have conversations, you have to have warm leads. So here are the measurables. You talk about how many warm leads have we done? How many conversations have we had? How many meetings have we had? How many proposals have we put out? Because you can tell if your number of warm leads is low, you're going to have fewer clients, right? Because if you figure out what your timing is, and then we look at it on a 13-week basis, so you can see in a whole quarter, what are the quick patterns so you can make faster deliverables. Then we get into the issues list, and the issues is where we really talk about, we create an issues list and we do what we call IDS. So IDS, the first thing that we do is we identify what the root cause of the problem is. Here's the thing. What most people do is they go right into discussion. They say, okay, here's the problem. We're going to go right into discussion. We try to solve it. And then that's when you come back 3 weeks later and you've got the same problem again, because all you do is focus on discuss. In Lean Six Sigma, they talk about the 5 whys. Why is that a problem? Oh, why is that a problem? Oh, okay. Then why is that a problem? Okay. Once you get to the root cause, then it's a lot easier to discuss for solution, right? You've cut it off at the root, so you don't have to worry about it coming back again. You can have new problems come. Then we go through the process where we look at, have we documented the core processes that are the most important to us? And here's just some ideas of what people do, you know, like their onboarding process, marketing, sales, operations, accounting, customer retention, all of those kinds of things. And then once we have them documented, are they followed by all? So this is what we talked about in the Q&A. And then the last piece is traction. We've already talked through rocks. And then the next piece is your meetings. And we have an agenda that we put together for you, for the leadership team. So it's not the leader making all the decisions all by themselves. That weight lifts because the leadership team helps make the decisions. The leader is still the one that says yes or no. But that's focusing on that. And these 5 tools, the VTO, the accountability chart, the rocks, your level 10 meeting, and your scorecard, this is what's really going to get you to the point where you feel like you've got a handle on your business. You can get these tools out on eosworldwide.com. You can get PDF versions of these. You can also get the book Traction and read through that. Here's what I'd like to know, right? Are you happy? Do you feel like you got a tool, you got something out of today? I'm going to leave this up here. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about EOS, just put your camera here, or there's a new forum that I'm starting, Faith-Based Family Businesses, going to start in April. So I'm going to leave that up for just a second. But we've got, 3 minutes. So what questions do y'all have? As you can tell, I'm a little passionate about this.
Sandy, this is fantastic information. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, mind blowing. Love it. Any questions y'all have?
No questions, just one comment. This is Dee Maddox. I met Sandy in my breakout room, and I was super excited when she said that she thought that people were the most important product, even though automation and processes are equally important. I love the people analyzer. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Dee. DeAndrea, if y'all want to say it right.
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you so much for this overview. I actually picked up the book about a month ago and am about halfway through it, but this was really helpful and actionable. So thank you so much.
Sure.
My question, as I think about my business and so many businesses, is that collaboration is so important. And sometimes a way to scale is to collaborate with other like-minded partners, individuals, companies, et cetera. How do you think about leveraging EOS in creating those partnerships to drive scale, whether it's short-term or longer term?
Yeah, you know, one of the so this is going to be kind of a sideways way of answering that. I think EOS has really helped my company and my clients identify who are the partners they want to work with. Do they fit my values? Do I feel like they have the processes in place? We also find that people who are ready to sell their business in the next 2 to 5 years, they actually get X number higher in their sales because the buyer can just walk right into the business because they've got the right people in the right seats and they've got all their processes in place. So it's a lot easier for that. But I find it really helps you start to identify your vendors, your clients, your employees. They're attracted to your vision, your values.
Thank you.
Cool. 1 more minute. What else? Well, thank y'all for playing with me today. I really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you, Sandy. And yes, we will send a follow-up email after this event with the survey. And so feel free to add any tidbits that you want to share. And then we'll also include, feel free to reach out to Sandy. She's a wealth of information. And also a shout out again to our Goldman Sachs friends that were able to join us today as well. Just awesome tools. Loved it. Thank y'all so much for joining today.